Detective Valerie Owens liked to think she could read people the way a prospector reads riverbeds for flecks of gold. One glance, and she knew whether a passerby was trouble, a mark, or a harmless Sunday stroller. That morning at Rivergate Plaza in Seattle, she felt especially sharp, gliding through the mall in her crisp off-duty patrol jacket that still bore a hint of bad shine, when she spotted the elegantly dressed black woman lingering at the mezzanine jeweler. Alone, expensive leather tote, no wedding ring, wristwatch worth more than Valerie's monthly paycheck. An old, cynical part of her mind clicked into place. Grifters come in every shape, Owens reminded herself, but lately the classy loner profile had paid off. She tipped her headpiece mic for a whisper. Potential high-value shoplift prepping at Cielo Jewelers. Female, early 40s, black, Burberry coat. I'll reel her in. Her voice carried just far enough for the target to hear. That was purposeful, a little intimidation, a little stagecraft. She even suppressed a smirk when she added, "Watch how quick this one folds." Major General Olivia Brooks didn't fold. Not while parachuting into Kandahar in sandstorms. Not while directing evacuations after a typhoon leveled a Philippine naval base. And certainly not while comparing rose gold charm bracelets for her teenage son's 18th birthday. She merely raised an eyebrow at the officer's unsubtle posturing, brushed a lock of graying black hair behind her ear, and returned to chatting with the apprentice jeweler about gemstone durability. Valerie watched from between sunglass racks, deciding how to plant evidence without alerting the store's eagle-eyed security. Her answer materialized 2 kiosks away, an unlocked glass tray of designer cufflinks, platinum squares retailing at $600 apiece. She lifted one with practiced sleight of hand, palmed it, and sauntered toward the general, letting shoppers form a natural buffer. As she passed, her shoulder clipped Olivia's, and in that fleeting collision the cufflink slipped neatly into the open side pocket of Olivia's coat. "Watch yourself, ma'am," Valerie announced with mock courtesy, then raised her voice for dramatic reverb off the tile. "Step away from that counter. Store security flagged you. You fit a description." Olivia blinked, momentarily unsure whether she had misheard. A description of what? Valerie kept talking, ignoring the question. "Hands visible, please. We've had theft reports. Need to clear you first." Several midday patrons stopped walking, phones already hovering. In modern America, any confrontation between a white cop and a black civilian drew amateur cinematographers the way sirens draw moths. Olivia complied, letting her tote slide to the floor. Her posture. Straight shoulders, measured breathing, projected command even in civilian slacks. That composure gave Valerie pause, but the detective shook it off, already reaching for the inevitable theater, the surprise discovery. She patted the general's coat, found the cufflink where she'd planted it, and fished it out with triumphant flair. "Well, look here. You planning to pay for this?" Gasps rippled among the onlookers. Olivia's eyes narrowed. "That is not mine. It never is." Valerie chuckled, enjoying the stage lights of smartphone flash. She retrieved handcuffs. "Let's take a stroll to the precinct." A teenage boy in a Kraken hoodie spoke up. "I watched her the whole time, lady. She never took anything." Valerie shot him a withering glare. "Move along, Junior. Don't tamper with an investigation." The boy kept recording. Olivia, still calm, said, "Detective, I recommend you check surveillance footage before embarrassing yourself." There was neither tremor nor plea in her voice, merely an officer's suggestion delivered by someone who understood chain of evidence better than Owens ever would. Valerie's smile faltered a hair. Something unsettling in the woman's poise, an aura of latent authority, made it feel like cuffing a judge. She dismissed the feeling, snapped one cuff on Olivia's wrist, and turned her toward the growing circle of spectators. "This, folks, is why our city's retail prices keep climbing. Somebody's got to foot the bill for high-end theft. Or for police misconduct," Olivia replied evenly. Phones tilted up. Murmurs grew audible. 2 mall security guards jogged over, alerted by shoppers. One of them, a young Filipino named Arnel Diaz, recognized the suspect instantly. He had escorted this same woman during last month's Veterans Day ceremony downtown. Hadn't the mayor introduced her as the first black woman from Washington state to reach Major General rank? Arnell's memory clicked. Detective Owens," he said quietly, "might want to slow down." Valerie signaled him to stand aside. "I've got it handled." Olivia cleared her throat. "If you will permit me to retrieve identification, slowly." She raised her free hand in painstakingly deliberate motion toward her inner jacket pocket. "Don't even twitch," Valerie barked, brandishing her taser now. The damning tableau. The white officer, the black woman in cuffs, the yellow taser jittering across Olivia's torso, crystallized into hundreds of viewing angles across social media instantly. Arnell looked panicked. He tapped his earpiece. "Call central office. Get the live feed up," he muttered to his partner. They sprinted for the control room. Valerie, oblivious to the security scramble, lifted her radio. "Need backup and cruiser at North Garage. Code 390, felony theft suspect." She couldn't hide the euphoric lilt in her tone. A wash of dopamine lit her nerves. Another neat collar, another self-congratulatory memo to her commander, maybe even a commendation. But she still couldn't shake that nagging sense of something off. Why wasn't the woman begging, crying, or bargaining like every other shoplifter she'd cornered? Why did she hold her chin like she was the one taking statements? Olivia finally spoke, voice low so only Owens heard. "Detective, you have exactly one more minute to correct this error before your career enters free fall." Not a threat, merely a forecast delivered with meteorological certainty. Valerie's retort died in her throat because Arnell returned at a sprint, tablet in hand, eyes saucer-wide. "Ma'am, you need to see this." He thrust the screen toward Owens. The hallway camera, high-def and time-stamped, showed Valerie herself extracting the cufflink from the kiosk tray only minutes earlier. Another camera angle captured the bump implant maneuver in crisp clarity. The feed looped. Owens stared, color draining. Shoppers saw her face blanch, and a collective murmur built like surf. Some started chanting, "Show the feed. Show the feed." Valerie hissed, "Delete that footage." Arnell shook his head. "It's already on cloud backup. And the corporate headquarters is online, watching." Olivia finally slid her ID card into view. A Department of Defense credential embossed with eagle insignia, photo unmistakably hers. Major General Olivia Elise Brooks, U.S. Army Pacific Command. Serial number 416307. Her voice remained soft, but it now carried the distant boom of parade ground steel. "Release me." Valerie's mouth worked soundlessly. The crowd surged nearer. Someone yelled, "Let her go, racist cop." Owens's hand trembled on the cuff key. She unlocked it. The dangling metal clinked like a verdict. Olivia flexed her wrist once, then addressed the audience. "I appreciate everyone who documented this event. Please forward your videos to the Internal Affairs Bureau and to my personal counsel." She handed the nearest teen her business card. "Transparency keeps us safe." In less than 10 minutes, the entire encounter exploded across Twitter, #GeneralRond, TikTok, and Facebook live streams. By late afternoon, local affiliates broke, breaking news. Seattle detective accused of planting evidence on African-American general. By nightfall, CNN carried split-screen commentary, retired JG officers, civil rights attorneys, and ethics professors dissecting Owens's procedure frame by frame. Valerie spent that night in an interview room downtown, Internal Affairs recording each stammered explanation. She attempted the standard defense, split-second decision, suspected a ring, intangible probable cause. But the footage incinerated every excuse. Her union rep whispered resignation strategies, yet she sensed the ground already falling away. Meanwhile, Olivia Brooks accepted coffee at a mahogany conference table in a law office overlooking Elliott Bay. Across from her sat attorney Martha "Bulldog" Delaney, renowned civil rights litigator. Delaney clasped Olivia's hand. "General, your restraint under duress was masterful. But this isn't just personal injustice. This smacks of a larger racket." Olivia frowned. "Explain." Delaney opened a folder thick with complaints against Valerie Owens and two colleagues. Mismatched evidence logs, racial profiling allegations dismissed for insufficient corroboration, unusually high arrest counts in upscale retail corridors. "We suspect a kickback scheme with select bail bond agents. Your footage is the missing keystone." The next week, state investigators subpoenaed Owens's bank records. Low salary, yet monthly deposits in cash from a shell LLC registered to a bail bond firm operating out of Tacoma. Patterns emerged. Every deposit trailed a suspect arrest by exactly 3 business days. 3 detectives from Owens's precinct had identical statistical jagged peaks tied to those deposits. One of them, Joshua Price, quietly turned state's witness to save his pension and admitted the conspiracy. As news widened, more victims surfaced. A Latina college student at Westlake Center falsely tagged for stolen headphones. An elderly Korean man accused of switching barcodes at an electronics store. A white tourist couple shaken down for cash fines to avoid booking. All had encountered Detective Owens or her co-conspirators. But the scandal's fuse burned hottest when prosecutors announced a raid on Bellevue Superior Court clerk's archives. seizing case files where charges were dismissed just before evidence audits. A clerk named Daniel Maxwell confessed he'd shredded body camera discs on Owens's request in exchange for cryptocurrency payments. Seattle combusted with protests. Demonstrators carried placards declaring "Protect Black Women," "Justice for the Framed," and "End Retail Racket." The city council convened an emergency oversight panel. The mayor publicly thanked General Brooks for her extraordinary poise and civic duty. Brooks, however, deflected praise. When MSNBC aired a primetime interview, she said, "The real heroes are ordinary citizens who trusted their eyes and kept recording. Democracy depends on collective vigilance." The interviewer asked, "General, what do you hope comes of this?" "A federal standard mandating off-duty officers to wear operational body cameras when invoking police authority," she replied. Sunlight is antiseptic. Behind the scenes, Brooks kept late nights coordinating with Delaney and State Attorney Alicia Zhang. They prepared a RICO case, racketeering charges usually wielded against gang syndicates, against Owens, 2 detectives, the bail bond CEO, and a private security consultant rumored to mastermind the strategy. If successful, it would set a national precedent that systemic profiling for profit constitutes organized crime. During pre-trial discovery, investigators uncovered group chats, encrypted Telegram channels labeled Clothesline Crew, where officers shared tips on optimal camera blind spots, how to nudge store detectives, and even racial slurs couched as dark jokes. One chilling meme. Owens had posted a photo of cufflinks with the caption, "Fresh bait for a fancy fish." The timestamp matched the day she framed Olivia. The court unsealed those chats. Public outrage morphed into white-hot fury. A coalition of tech firms, many led by Black executives, offered pro bono data forensics to strengthen prosecution. Donors poured six-figure sums into a new nonprofit Brooks quietly established, Operation Verity, dedicated to arming civilians with Know Your Rights education and free cloud storage for bystander video. 8 months after Rivergate Plaza, Valerie Owens shuffled into a packed federal courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit. She looked diminished, hair unkempt, reputation scorched. On the stand, she attempted tears, claiming PTSD, claiming departmental pressure, but cross-examination unveiled her lavish Amazon purchases, Caribbean vacations, and down payment on a vacation cabin, none affordable on a detective's salary. The jury deliberated less than 4 hours. When the four-person read guilty on all 11 counts, a collective sigh swept through the gallery. Olivia, seated beside Martha Delaney, closed her eyes, exhaled. Not satisfaction. More like solemn relief that a rot had been excised, though scars remained. Sentencing day brought further drama. Judge Pennington imposed 22 years without parole, citing calculated corruption that weaponized racial bias for personal enrichment, plus restitution to every documented victim. He concluded, "This court thanks Major General Brooks for demonstrating the highest ideals of service under unjust attack." Reporters hounded Olivia outside the courthouse, but she limited her remarks. "Accountability is the seed. Reform is the harvest. Let's keep tending the field." Rivergate Plaza reinvented itself, installing a public exhibit on the power of citizen footage. A glass case now displays a replica of the planted cufflink under the header, "Evidence of Truth Uncovered." Next to it, a touchscreen plays synchronized bystander videos. Mall traffic spiked, schools scheduled field trips. One rainy November morning, Olivia returned to the jeweler, not in uniform but a teal sweater and jeans. The apprentice, now store manager, greeted her with a warm hug. Olivia purchased a set of cufflinks similar to the infamous piece, but this time legitimately boxed and paid. She mailed them to the National Museum of African American History with a note, "From weapon to witness." Her son, Marcus too, opened his birthday gift, a titanium chronograph, weeks later. He'd followed every twist online, defending his mother in dorm debates about policing. "Mom," he said, eyes damp, "you turned their trap into a lesson entire campuses discuss. That's bigger than medals." Olivia tousled his hair, the same hair she used to buzz cut for summer ROTC camps, and thought about legacy, how injustice, once exposed, could germinate empathy in places statistics never reach. Operation Verity expanded statewide within the year, partnering with indie filmmakers to produce short dramatizations of unlawful searches. Streaming services picked them up. High school civics teachers used them as curriculum. Olivia appeared occasionally in those shorts, never as star, always as advisor, insisting the spotlight stay on ordinary citizens. Meanwhile, Detective Owens wrote bitter letters from prison, blaming cancel culture for her downfall. Few read them. Even fewer cared. Her former allies pled guilty, their pensions stripped, their linked arrests overturned. Some wrongfully accused men and women filed civil suits and received settlements. But money couldn't erase nights in jail or lost jobs. They spoke at city forums, testifying how reputations broke like glass beneath a single accusation. Brooks attended every session she could, sitting in the back, taking notes for future policy proposals. 2 years to the day after the Cufflink incident, Seattle implemented the Brooks Transparency Statute, mandatory real-time public release of body camera footage for any arrest contested by probative civilian video. Other cities copied the act. Federal legislators held hearings, citing the Brooks case 13 times in transcripts. Yet the general never grew pat about her role. She warned every interviewer, no single story fixes systemic roots. Stay watchful. She kept her career low-key, declining talk show circuits. Instead, she mentored junior officers on ethics, taught a seminar at Joint Base Lewis McChord titled Leadership When the Uniform Comes Off, and sometimes patrolled the very mall where her ordeal began, incognito, an ordinary shopper, taking quiet comfort in seeing families move unharassed through bright halls once shadowed by predation. On one such evening, she noticed Arnel Diaz, now head of security, escorting a nervous teenage cashier who'd just reported a shoplifter. Arnel handled it with scrupulous fairness, reviewing footage first, ensuring no assumptions. When the suspect, a scared kid pocketing earbuds, sat down with security, Arnel offered water and calmly read rights. Olivia watched the respectful procedure and thought, culture change begins at smallest notes. She strolled toward the exit. Rivergate's foyer skylight mirrored Seattle's lavender dusk. Her phone buzzed, a text from Attorney Zhang, Senate committee inviting testimony on national adoption of Brooks statute. Olivia typed back, "Will attend, but only if we spotlight citizens' footage, not me." She tucked the phone away, pushed through glass doors into night air heavy with Pacific drizzle. Somewhere behind her, a musician's saxophone echoed a blues riff across the plaza. It sounded like an elegy and a beginning all at once. Olivia Brooks never sought hero status. She sought normalcy, the chance to buy a birthday gift without armor. Fate handed her an unwanted stage, and she chose to stand center floor, unflinching, so light could flood the dark. In that choice lay the quiet revolution. Power refracted from one woman's composure into 1,000 camera lenses, into courts and statutes, into hearts that beat faster whenever injustice reared. The cufflink glinted no longer as trinket or trap, but as a sliver of reflected sunrise, proof that even small, cold metal could catch dawn and fling it dazzling across a nation ready to see.